Here's a video for day 12 in person. If you are watching this, it's because you weren't in class, so please email me the answers to the questions that I pose. So we're up now to the Tower of Babel, and the first thing I'd like you to do is to make a prediction. What is going to happen with the Tower of Babel? We see Adam and Eve there's machloket involved in their experience together, their relationship. Cain and Abel, machloket involved in their experience. Noah and the flood. This is a story marked by obedience. And what is Tower of Babel? Is Tower of Babel going to double down on obedience, or is it going to present another example of machloket, with obedience being just kind of a blip in the system? So that's question number one, and tell me why. Yeah. Um, so what's the next story going to do? And now let's get to the story itself. So I've got 6 questions when I read this. Can you actually figure out 3 questions, please? So that's question number 2, 3 parts, A, B, and C. Give me 3 possible questions that you might have from reading this. So the first question, obviously, I have has to deal with these words. Everyone on the earth had one language and Devarim Achadim. So let's just look at those words, Devarim Achadim. Those are Hebrew words. Devarim means either words, deeds, and things. Achadim means few, several, and one. So if we look at all the permutations there, we've got this could mean few words, few deeds, few things, several words. And then if we look at all these, so which one do we think it is? Everyone on earth had one language, and so give me your guess, and for question number 3, and tell me why you think that would be your choice. And then we're going to kind of look at how Rashi kind of reads these words and see if Rashi helps us kind of understand what this might mean. So everyone has one language, and Devarim Achadim says they came up with one plan, saying God has no right to have heaven all to himself. Let us go up to heaven and make war upon him. So of these different ideas, according to Rashi, what does Devarim Achadim mean? And the answer, which one is it? And that's your question number 4, I think. And the real answer is one deed. So that one deed of kind of making war, go up and make war um, on God. Great. And just by the way, Robert Alter, in the Art of Biblical Narrative, says he translated it as one set of words, one set of words. And look at what Tzvi Grummet does. He says, look at the first words of one language. How do these words help us understand how to translate Devarim Achadim? So let's just go back for a second. He's saying there is a relational, there's a relationship between one language, and one language means because you have one language, you have few what? And so what would be your answer? That's question number 5. And we see that Sri Garment's answer is it means few things. So this is what it says. Diversity is minimized when everyone speaks the same language. So once we learn about people having the same language, then it logically follows that few ideas or few things are being said. So, okay, next question. What is so bad about being scattered? Give me your answer to that. That's question number 6. Next question. Why a tower? Why a tower up to heaven? Why is that important? And number 8, this is a question actually that Hunter brought up in class, isn't it it's so interesting that they would choose a valley to settle there, as if they're building this tower not on a mountain, which would make sense. If they're trying to build something high up, you'd go to a mountain. Why are they going to a valley to make this building process happen? And here's what Rashi says. And can you read what Rashi, for question number 9? Read what Rashi says and summarize what Rashi believes is the answer to why a tower. And it's pretty interesting. This is Rashi's thinking that a kind of environmental is Rashi thinking that a kind of environmental manipulation is a good thing or a bad thing? That's question number 10. Good, let's move on. What does it mean to make a name for ourselves? That's going to be question number 11. And this is question number 12. What's the relationship between making a name for ourselves and not being scattered? How does making a name help you not be scattered? That's 6a. And how does not making a name for yourself make you be scattered? So we're going to call that 12a and 12b. Okay. Now what I'd like you to do is look at this kind of idea of everyone on earth had the same language and one plan. And they said, come, let us build a city and a tower with its top in the heavens in order to make a name for ourselves, or else we will be scattered. I want you to look for a second at the word name. Name in Hebrew is shame. Okay, so here it is. Now what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to go ahead and okay, so not scattering will make it easier for us to make a name for ourselves. So now I want you to look at kind of here is not just the story of Bavel, but here's the pre-story of, let me see if I can find it. Here's the story of what happens before Bavel. Here's the story of what happens at Bavel. And here's the story that happens after Bavel. What I'd like you to do is I'd like you to circle all of the names, not the name of God and not the name of Bavel, but circle all of the people's names that you find pre-story, tower story, and post-tower story. So, and then once you circle them, count them up and write those right here. One, so this is question number 13, and we'll call it 13 pre-story name number. 14 is tower story name number, and 15 is post-tower story name number. Okay, so do that now. And this should be part of your answer right here. And so here is the real question. How can it be, and this is question number 16, how can it be that the very place that they want to create a name in the tower, right, there are no names at all, but the stories that come before and after are filled with names and even filled with a person who's named name? Okay, give me an answer to that question. That's a hard one. And look at what Judy Klitzner says. The Tower of Babel story is surrounded on all sides by lists of names, yet the Babel story presents a group of unnamed builders. These builders are trying to get famous not because of their individual efforts, but because of their collective identity. The story of Babel describes the human tendency towards conformity. It concludes that this kind of behavior moves us away from God. So this is interesting. So all of a sudden, if we look at this story here, there's a tremendous amount of agreement, of unity. And with that unity and agreement, something happens to machloket. Does machloket go down or go up? That's question number 817. And this is unity, conformity, and I say there's no disagreement about what's being done. They're all working together. And for some reason, God doesn't like it. God doesn't like it. And so there are names in the beginning. There's no names here to signify everyone working together. No one is an individual. Then all of a sudden, individual again. God almost doesn't like it when there is no individuality. God doesn't like it when there's no conformity. Maybe God doesn't like it when there's no machloket. And actually, there's what's the big danger of this unity and uniformity? They're doing something to wage war against God, right? Um, so let's go right. So actually, we're going to skip this for right now. We're going to connect to this later, and this is really what I want to look at right now. This idea of at the end of this Babel story, it says, "And God scattered them from over the face of the whole earth, and they stopped building the city." This is why it was called Babel, because there God mixed up the speech of the whole earth, and there God scattered them all over the face of the whole earth. Now, is being scattered by God a blessing or a curse? 18. That's question 18. Now, we're going to look at three other times where people are scattered. So and I'm going to ask you, is this a blessing or a curse? God now created human beings to be in the image of God. In the image of God, God created them, male and female. God blessed them, saying, be fruitful and multiply and fill the land. So go and scatter yourself. A blessing or a curse? Next one, blessing or a curse? God blessed Noah and God said, be fruitful and multiply and fill the earth. Go and scatter to all these different places. A blessing or a curse? And now, what about this one? God scattered them all over the face of the earth and they stopped building the city. Is this a blessing or a curse? That's question number 20. So isn't it weird that how can a blessing for most people be a curse to some? So the first case is a blessing, second is a blessing, and the same thing is happening here, but they view it as a curse. Why is that? That's question number 21. Why might God think that it's a blessing for people to be scattered? And that's the final question for the day. And so, what I think is really interesting here, and this happened in class today, is that everyone, when they were making a prediction about what would actually be, what would actually be, when we predicted, we all kind of said, oh, what's going to happen here is there is going to be more machloket, because I know a little bit about the story about them building a tower to wage war against God. But actually, there's actually more obedience in this story than there's obedience with each other. There's kind of not obedience to God, but obedience with human beings, conformity, uniformity, lack of individuality. And we see that they wage war against God, they do something that God doesn't like, and God tries to end this, maybe because God wants what? And that's question number 23. That's your final question of the day.